All right, live. Like, the lighting in here is not that great. It's not that great. Anywho, guys, let me make myself look like something. So, anywho, here I am again in my John hoodie. I really feel like this is just like the Bible reading time hoodie. Okay. So, yeah. Oh, Lord. All right. So, today we are actually going to be finished with Genesis. Like, shout out to us, right? And I'm in a different location today. I don't have to go to work today, so I'm at the library tomorrow. Thank God I will be at work. So that's really good. Um, and basically we're gonna finish up Genesis today. I feel like now that we're finishing up Genesis, I am released to produce the other videos that I've been wanting to produce because I had proven to myself consistency. Hey, Corey. So I have proven to myself consistency. And I just pray that God continues to work with me and keep me consistent. Um, and that'll lead like into other areas of my life as well, which I am really excited about. So today we're gonna get into it. I am reading out of this Bible today, which is the Africa Study Bible. So I'm pretty sure that that's good. It just pretty much, I don't really see a difference, but it's kind of like a study Bible. So, um, yeah, it's a study Bible. And that I'm looking through it, it doesn't really have anything different. You know, it tells about where the books come from. It tells, who they think wrote it, according to Jewish tradition. And yeah, so let me just see something here. We are getting to Exodus, which is the next book of the Bible after this one. And I think that that's really cool. Um, Let me see. Okay. All right. So I'm just trying to get through. And I apologize. I'm just trying to get, let's see. Make a will be with you. All right. So let's just go ahead and jump into Genesis chapter 47. So we went into chapter 47 a little bit in the last reading. I just read like the beginning part of that because it still continued on with the story that we were already in. So I thought that was relevant. So I just went ahead and read it. But we're going to start at the top of 47. We're not going to skip it. We're going to start at the top of 47 and read all the way through to the end of Genesis. Like there's no reason to skip anything. So let's go on. Chapter 47, Jacob blesses Pharaoh. And then Joseph went to see Pharaoh and told him, "My father and my brothers have arrived from the land of Canaan. They have come with all their flocks and herds and possessions, and they are now in the region of Goshen." Joseph took 5 of his brothers with him and presented them to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh asked the brothers, "What is your occupation?" They replied, "We, your servants, are shepherds, just like our ancestors. We have come to live here in Egypt for a while, for there is no pasture for our flocks in Canaan. The famine is very severe there, so please, we request permission to live in the region of Goshen." Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Now that your father and brothers have joined you here, choose any place in the entire land of Egypt for them to live. Give them the best land of Egypt. Let them live in the region of Goshen, and if any of them have special skills, put them in charge of my livestock too." Then Joseph brought in his father Jacob and presented him to Pharaoh, and Jacob blessed Pharaoh. "How old are you?" Pharaoh asked him. Jacob replied, "I've traveled this earth for 130 hard years, but my life has been short compared to the lives of my ancestors." Then Jacob blessed Pharaoh again before leaving his court. So Joseph assigned the best land of Egypt to the so Joseph assigned the best land of Egypt, the region of Ramses, to his father and his brothers, and he settled them there, just as Pharaoh had commanded. And Joseph provided food for his father and his brothers in amounts appropriate to the number of their dependents, including the smallest children, which is good. Joseph's leadership in the famine. Meanwhile, the famine became so severe that all the food was used up, and people were starving throughout the lands of Egypt and Canaan. By selling grain to the people, Joseph eventually collected all the money in Egypt and Canaan, and he put the money in Pharaoh's treasury. When the people of Egypt and Canaan ran out of money, all the Egyptians came to Joseph. Our money is gone, they cried, but please give us food, or we will die before your very eyes. So Joseph replied, since your money is gone, bring me your livestock. I will give you food in exchange for your livestock. So they brought their livestock to Joseph in exchange for food. In exchange for their horses, flocks of sheep and goats, herds of cattle, and donkeys, Joseph provided them with food for another year. But that year ended, and the next year they came again and said, we cannot hide the truth from you, my lord. Our money is gone, and all our livestock and cattle are yours. We have nothing left to give but our bodies and our land. Why should we die before your very eyes? Buy us and our land in exchange for food. We offer our land and ourselves as slaves for Pharaoh. Just give us grain so we may live and not die, and so the land does not become empty and desolate. So Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. All the Egyptians sold him their fields because the famine was so severe, and soon all the land belonged to Pharaoh. As for the people, he made them all slaves from one end of Egypt to the other. The only land he did not buy was the land belonging to the priests. They received an allotment of food directly from Pharaoh, so they didn't need to sell their land. Then Joseph said to the people, look, today I have bought you and your land for Pharaoh. I will provide you with seed so you can plant the fields. Then, when you harvest it, 1/5 of your crop will belong to Pharaoh. You may keep the remaining 4/5 and seed your fields as food for you, your household, and your little ones. You have saved our lives. You have saved our lives, they exclaimed. May it please you, my lord, to let us be Pharaoh's servants. Joseph then issued a decree still in effect in the land of Egypt that Pharaoh should receive 1/5 of all crops grown on his land. Only the land belonging to the priests was not given to Pharaoh. Meanwhile, the people of Israel settled in the region of Goshen in Egypt. There they acquired property and they were fruitful, and their population grew rapidly. Jacob lived for 17 years after his arrival in Egypt. So he lived 147 years in all. As the time of his death drew near, Jacob called for his son Joseph and said to him, please do me this favor. Put your hand under my thigh and swear that you will treat me with unfailing love by honoring this last request. Do not bury me in Egypt. When I die, please take my body out of Egypt and bury me with my ancestors. So Joseph promised, I will do as you ask. Swear that you will do it, Jacob insisted. So Joseph gave his oath, and Jacob bowed humbly at the head of his bed. Jacob blesses Manasseh and Ephraim. Ephraim. One day, and this is chapter 48. One day, not long after this, word came to Joseph, your father is failing rapidly. So Joseph went to visit his father, and he took with him his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. When Joseph arrived, Jacob was told, your son Joseph has come to see you. So Jacob gathered his strength and sat up in his bed. Jacob said to Joseph, God Almighty appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan. He said to me, I will make you fruitful and I will multiply your descendants. I will make you a multitude of nations, and I will give you this land of Canaan to your descendants after you as an everlasting possession. Now I am claiming as my own sons these two boys of yours, Ephraim and Manasseh, who were born here in the land of Egypt before I arrived. They will be my sons, just as Reuben and Simeon are. But any children born to you in the future will be your own, and they will inherit land within the territories of their brothers Ephraim and Manasseh. Long ago, I was returning from Padan Aram. Rachel died in the land of Canaan. We were still on the way, some distance from Ephrath, that is Bethlehem. So with great sorrow, I buried her there beside the road to Ephrath. Then Jacob looked over at the two boys. Are these your sons? He asked. Yes, Joseph told him, these are the sons God has given me here in Egypt. And Jacob said, bring them closer to me so I can bless them. Jacob was half blind because of his age and could hardly see. So Joseph brought the boys close to him, and Jacob kissed and embraced them. Then Jacob said to Joseph, I never thought I would see your face again, but now God has let me see your children too. Joseph moved the boys who were at their grandfather's knees, and he bowed with his face to the ground. Then he positioned the boys in front of Jacob. With his right hand, he directed Ephraim towards Jacob's left hand, and with his left hand, he put Manasseh in Jacob's right hand. But Jacob crossed his arms as he reached out to lay his hands on the boys' heads. He put his right hand on the head of Ephraim, though he was the younger boy, and his left hand on the head of Manasseh, though he was the firstborn. Then he blessed Joseph and said, My God, may the God before whom my grandfather Abraham and my father Isaac walked, the God who has been my shepherd all my life to this very day, the angel who has redeemed me from all harm, may he bless these boys. May they preserve my name and the names of Abraham and Isaac, and may their descendants multiply greatly throughout the earth. But Joseph was upset when he saw that his father placed his right hand on Ephraim's head. So Joseph lifted it to move it from Ephraim's head and Manasseh's head. No, my father, he said, this one is the firstborn. Put your right hand on his head. Isn't this very reminiscent? Put your right hand on his head. But his father refused. I know, my son, I know, he replied. Manasseh will also become a great people, but his younger brother will become even greater, and his descendants will become a multitude of nations. So Jacob blessed the boys that day with this blessing. The people of Israel will use your names when they give a blessing. They will say, May God make you as prosperous as Ephraim and Manasseh. In this way, Jacob put Ephraim ahead of Manasseh. Then Jacob said to Joseph, Look, I am about to die, but God will be with you and will take you back to Canaan, the land of your ancestors. And beyond what I have given your brothers, I am giving you an extra portion of the land that I took from the Amorites with my sword and bow. 49. Jacob's last words to his sons. Then Jacob called together all his sons and said, Gather around me, and I will tell you what will happen to each of you in the days to come. Come and listen, you sons of Jacob. Listen to Israel, your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my strength, the child of my vigorous youth. You are first in rank and first in power. But you are as unruly as a flood, and you will be first no longer. For you went to bed with my wife, you defiled my marriage couch. Simeon and Levi are two of a kind. Their weapons are instruments of violence. May I never join in their meetings. May I never be party to their plans. For in their anger, they murdered men and crippled oxen just for sport. They're talking about the Shechemites. A curse on their anger, for it is fierce. A curse on their wrath, for it is cruel. I will scatter them among the descendants of Jacob. I will disperse them throughout Israel. Judah, your brothers, will praise you. You will grasp your enemies by the neck. All your relatives will bow before you. Judah, my son, is a young lion that has finished eating its prey. Like a lion, he crouches and lies down, like a lioness who dares to rouse him. The scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from his descendants, until the coming of the one to whom it belongs, the one whom all nations will honor. He ties his fowl to a grapevine, the colt of his donkey to a choice vine. He washes his clothes with wine, his robes in the blood of grapes. His eyes are darker than wine, and his teeth are whiter than milk. Zebulun will settle by the seashore, and will be a harbor for ships. His borders will extend to Sidon. Issachar is a sturdy donkey resting between two saddle packs. When he sees how good the countryside is and how pleasant the land, he will bend his shoulder to the land and submit himself to hard labor. Dan will govern his people like any other tribe in Israel. Dan will be a snake beside the road, a poisonous viper along the path that bites the horse's hooves, so its rider is thrown off. I trust in you for salvation, O Lord. Gad will be attacked by marauding bands, but he will attack them when they retreat. Asher will dine on rich foods and produce food fit for kings. Naphtali is a doe set free that bears beautiful fawns. Joseph is the foal of a wild donkey, the fall of a wild donkey at a spring. One of the wild donkeys on the ridge. Archers attacked him savagely. They shot at him and harassed him, but his bow remained taut and his arms were strengthened by the hands of the mighty one of Jacob, by the shepherd, the rock of Israel. May the God of your father help you. Oh, may the God of your father help you. May the Almighty bless you with the blessings of the heavens above and blessings of the watery depths below, and blessings of the breast and womb. May my fatherly blessings on you surpass the blessings of my ancestors, reaching to the heights of the eternal hills. May these blessings rest on the head of Joseph, who is a prince among his brothers. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf, devouring his enemies in the morning and dividing his plunder in the evening. These are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is what their father said as he told his sons goodbye. He blessed each one with an appropriate message. Jacob's death and burial. Then Jacob instructed them, soon I will die and join my ancestors. Bury me with my father and grandfather in the cave in the field of Ephron the Hittite. This is the cave in the field of Machpelah near Mamre in Canaan that Abraham brought from Ephron the Hittite as a permanent burial site. There Abraham and his wife Sarah are buried. There Isaac and his wife Rebekah are buried, and there I buried Leah. It is the plot of land, the cave that my grandfather Abraham bought from the Hittites. When Jacob had finished this charge to his sons, he drew his feet into the bed, breathed his last, and joined his ancestors in death. Chapter 50, y'all. Joseph threw himself on his father and wept over him and kissed him. Then Joseph told the physicians who served him to embalm his father's body, so Jacob was embalmed. The embalming process took the usual 40 days, and the Egyptians mourned his death for 70 days. When the period of mourning was over, Joseph approached Pharaoh's advisors and said, please do me this favor and speak to Pharaoh on my behalf. Tell him that my father made me swear an oath. He said to me, listen, I am about to die. Take my body back to the land of Canaan and bury me in the tomb I prepared for myself. So please allow me to go and bury my father. After his burial, I will return without delay. Pharaoh agreed to Joseph's request. Okay, period for bereavement leave. Pharaoh agreed to Joseph's request. Go and bury your father. He made you promise, he said. So Joseph went up to bury his father. He was accompanied by all of Pharaoh's officials, all the senior members of Pharaoh's household, and all the senior officers of Egypt. Joseph also took his entire household and his brothers and their households, but they left their little children and flocks and herds in the land of Goshen. A great number of chariots and charioteers accompanied Joseph. So this wasn't just like, this was like a big grand thing. Like, this was obviously, he was not Joseph, but Isaac was very respected. Or I'm sorry, I'm all over the place, y'all. Jacob. Jacob was very respected in this community as well. Let's see. Okay, a great number of chariots and charioteers accompanied Joseph. When they arrived at the threshing floor of Atad near the river Jordan, they held a very great and solemn memorial service with a 7-day period of mourning for Joseph's father. The local residents, the Canaanites, watched them mourning at the threshing floor of Atad. Then they renamed that place, which is near the Jordan, Abel Mizraim, for they said, "This is a place of deep mourning for these Egyptians." So Jacob's sons did as he commanded them. They carried his body to the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave in the field of Machpelah near Mamre. This is the cave that Abraham had bought as a permanent burial site from Ephron the Hittite. Joseph reassures his brothers. After burying Jacob, Joseph returned to Egypt with his brothers and all who had accompanied him to his father's burial. But now their father was dead. Joseph's brothers became fearful. Now Joseph will show his anger and pay us back for all the wrong we did to him, they said. Look at them guilty consciences. They said, so they sent this message to Joseph. Before your father died, he instructed us to say to you, please forgive your brothers for the great wrong they did to you, for their sin in treating you so cruelly. So we, the servants of God of your father, beg you to forgive our sin. When Joseph received the message, he broke down and wept. Then his brothers came and threw themselves down before Joseph. Look, we are your slaves, they said. But Joseph replied, don't be afraid of me. Am I God that I can punish you? You intended to harm me, but God intended it all for good. He brought me to this position so I could save the lives of many people. No, don't be afraid. I will continue to take care of you and your children. So he assured them by speaking kindly. So he reassured them by speaking kindly to them. The death of Joseph. So Joseph and his brothers and their families continued to live in Egypt. Joseph lived to the age of 110. He lived to see three generations of descendants of his son Ephraim, and he lived to see the birth of the children of Manasseh's son Machir, whom he claimed as his own. I'm sorry. Soon I will die, Joseph told his brothers, but God will surely come to help you and lead you out of this land of Egypt. He will bring you back to the land he solemnly promised to give to Abraham, to Isaac, and Jacob. Then Joseph made the sons of Israel swear an oath, and he said, when God comes to help you and lead you back, you must take my bones with you. So Joseph died at the age of 110. The Egyptians embalmed him, and his body was placed in a coffin in Egypt. We finished Genesis. Okay, we finished Genesis. And I am really, really happy about that. It was a great story. Of course, this whole Bible reading series is really geared towards people who have never heard the word before. It's just something very fun you can listen to. You can put it on your radio, listen to it, whatever you may want to do or whatnot. But just remember that this Bible reading time really is geared so that we can just hear the word. It's not necessarily something I'm like preaching, and it's not like a Bible study that has like points of revelation, or like well, it does, but what I should say is I'm not like before each chapter like, let me pick this out so I can talk about this on the video and this and the third. It's not that. It's really like just a very genuine reading, very simple reading of the Bible, and whatever we pick up and chat about along the way is what we pick up and chat about along the way. So I'm really happy that we got done with Genesis. There was 50 chapters in Genesis. The next book that we're moving on to is the book of Exodus, and that one is just a smidgen shorter with only 40 chapters. But still set up in kind of the same way. We're going to read as many chapters as we possibly can. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to break it down, if we're going to read 5 chapters at a time, because we took a while to read Genesis. Genesis was a lot. It was 50 chapters. I'm not going to say it wasn't a lot, but we took a good little while to read Genesis. So it's going to be like a mix of me definitely getting on here every single day, as well as reading more chapters at one time in order for us to get through Exodus a little bit quickly, a little bit more quickly than we did Genesis. But either way, I'm just really happy because we are sticking to it. Like the consistency is key. And that really gives me the boost of energy and confidence that I need in order to produce more videos. And I have let go of trying to write scripts for videos that are going to be more than 20 minutes long. Like, whatever information you get, bruh, that's the information you get. And it's definitely going to be informational. It's going to be about whatever comes to my brain. And it's going to be a lot about fashion history. You know, everybody already knows I'm full of trivial information that you don't need until you need it. And when you had it, you was happy that you had it. Um, so that's pretty much what my content is going to be. And I'm like really looking forward to building this channel organically and seeing where it goes. And really just like building it in a way that I know like God is like the architect of everything that's being built on this channel. Like, you know, it's hard to explain, but if you know the Lord, you know what I mean. So I really hope that you guys are enjoying the reading of the Bible. And yeah, I just am really excited to see where it goes. And I hope that you guys stick with me. I hope you guys have a great day and peace. Adios.